So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Bill as our keynote speaker today. He's the CEO of the National Kitchen and Bath Association, a progressive trade association serving the kitchen and bath industry from design and remodeling to manufacturing and retail. He joined the NKBA in 2006 and has been its leader for a decade, helping to successfully grow and expand the association where it is today. I'm proud to say that 2020 has partnered with the NKBA on several programs throughout the years. Please welcome NKBA CEO Bill Darcy. Now,
Thank
Bill,
you,
the floor
Amy.
is yours.
Thank you, Amy, for the very gracious introduction and the chance to speak here at the 2020 Connect Virtual Conference. As Amy said, I'm the CEO of the NKBA, a trade association serving the kitchen and bath industry, covering everything from design, remodeling to manufacturing and sales. For those of you who don't know, NKBA also owns the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show and the largest show in North America. Okay, very happy to report as far as KBAS goes. KBAS 2022 is on track to be held in person, February 8th to 10th in Orlando, Florida, as part of Design and Construction Week. To date, we have more than 300 exhibitors and almost 370,000 square feet of space booked. Many of our major returning brands have also committed. Registration will open in September, and we hope you will all join us to reconnect as an industry in person for the first time, and I think it will be 2 years, which is very, very hard to believe. But I think we all know that the last year and a half has changed everything. In fact, a recent McKinsey Trends report says that we are experiencing the fourth industrial revolution, and the pandemic has sped up the transition in artificial intelligence and digitization by several years for many businesses. It used to take a decade or longer for new technology to be absorbed into everyday workflow. Last year, however, most companies said they are 3 times more likely than before the crisis to conduct at least 80% of their customer interactions digitally. The shift in consumers has been just as fast. Many are embracing this changing lifestyle that includes more time at home, working, cooking, and of course, learning. According to NKBA's Q4 2020 Kitchen and Bath Market Index, or KBMI, as we call it, the change in home life needs drove an unexpected surge in demand for new housing and functional floor plans to levels we have not seen in decades. Of course, we might see these shifts reverse a bit as we come out of the crisis with more people getting vaccinated and feeling comfortable going out again, but no one expects the seismic business and lifestyle changes we have seen in the last 12 months to revert to pre-pandemic norms. Frankly, there is no going back, which is why I'm focusing on the opportunities and challenges ahead for the kitchen and bath industry. We're talking about a future where things are not what we thought they would be. Just think, just a year and a half ago, no one thought twice about shaking hands or hugging, indoor dining, working in an office, or even shopping in a mall. And no one could have predicted the rise of bidets, as both Toto and Kohler saw extraordinary growth in sales of bidet toilet seats from March 2019 to March 2020. How the world has changed here in the US. However, we do have some concept of the future and insights about industry shifts in 3 distinct areas: housing, consumers, and design. And we have a pretty good idea of how these shifts will impact the kitchen and bath industry going forward, whether we're ready for it or not. So let's talk about housing first. To understand where we are today, we have to take a quick look back. 10 years ago, in 2011, new home sales were still struggling to recover from the 2008 recession, with residential construction, specifically the K&B industry, among the hardest hit businesses. And sales of existing homes were in no better shape. In fact, up till a few years ago, the housing market was still weaker, with many new and existing homes still moving slowly in most parts of the US, although the South was experiencing fairly steady growth. To help jog your memory, this was a type of home popular back in the early 2000s. Big, showy houses with flashy spa baths and great rooms that were still missing that 80-inch smart TV and other integrated technology. Fast forward to today, and we see a movement toward a more modern and technologically advanced home in a housing market that, quite simply, is experiencing unprecedented growth. Even with slight declines over the past couple months, because demand is certainly vastly exceeding supply, the numbers are still incredible. Sales of existing homes from January to April are up 20% compared to 2020. It's no wonder that the NKBA John Burns KBMI reached a historic high of 79.8 in Q1 2021. And that was mainly due to three factors. First, there's nothing on the market. This lack of move-up inventory, that is homes that are available to buy or that most people can afford, has triggered existing home upgrades and remodels. Second, permanent work from home lifestyles, both full-time and hybrid, have encouraged consumers to reconfigure their home layouts to accommodate these new patterns. And third, the role the home plays in our lives has grown exponentially in the last year. Thinking about my own situation, most of the time I was either in the office or traveling for business before the pandemic hit. And I can safely say that within the last year, I've been to the office maybe 3 times, traveled for business just once. And the rest of the time, I've been working from home, trying to balance work and home space with my family. I don't see that changing in the near future. As Lowe's CEO Marvin Ellison said, although all of us are looking forward to a post-COVID world, our research tells us that the importance of the home will remain elevated for many years to come. Both Lowe's and Home Depot are proud NKBA members and have phenomenal numbers to back this up. Each of these giants reaped tremendous rewards from the home remodeling boom in the last year. The category's seeing a 30+% increase in same-store sales year over year. At Lowe's, you guessed it, it's kitchen and bath. These are all encouraging factors for the kitchen and bath industry, which is a major part of the current remodeling boom. And what's more, we expect to see continued strength in the K&B sector, and that's due to several factors. Let's take aging homes. The median age of owner-occupied homes in the US is 39 years old, according to NAHB. And since our KBMI reports that about 50% of all kitchen and bathroom remodels are in homes that are 40 years or older, I'd say the business outlook for kitchen and bath is going to continue at a rapid pace. Then there's the rising price of homes. The average median selling price has increased 19% year over year, and that's a record high according to the National Association of Realtors. In fact, from 2020 to 2023, our kitchen and bath market outlook forecasts that total home price appreciation will grow 31%. This means many people won't be able to afford to move, so they are staying put and remodeling their existing space. And of course, just like with our phones, rapidly changing design and technology keeps us looking to update our homes more frequently. About 80% of the design features in kitchens and baths installed 16 to 20 years ago are outdated compared with current trends, including colors, finishes, and surfaces. And let's not even talk about updates in technology. These will all contribute to the continued demand for remodeling over the next few years. Also, many consumers got that DIY bug out of their system. They tackled smaller projects by themselves in 2020, and now many are looking to undertake larger scale renovations that require professionals. This year alone, our kitchen and bath market outlook calls for an 18% growth in medium scale kitchen and bath remodels and a 20% growth in major renovations with a designer, which usually require visiting a showroom. And since we're talking about consumers, let's all agree that we've totally changed ourselves. Our behavior as consumers going forward has been shaped by what we experienced over the last year and a half, one that will go down in history as a massive change agent. I mean, could you or I have foreseen that we'd be stuck in our homes for months? I mean, every time we go out, we wear a mask, gloves, and are armed with enough hand sanitizer to supply a small town. Did anyone really believe that the world would actually come to a stop? Just think, in the US, we literally stopped driving. Every metro area in the country experienced a minimum 50% decline in traffic from March to April 2020. And air travel, well, this chart says it all, a total bottoming out of global worldwide flights. All of this and more impacted consumers, changing even entrenched behaviors during the last year in ways that will likely alter how we live and work and play in the future. I mean, just think of how we as consumers did things pre-pandemic. We ate out indoors at buffets, no less. We went to crowded movie theaters and ate popcorn from the same tub. We flew in planes with little concern about being shoulder to shoulder with strangers. We bought food for a day or two, maybe a week, including one reasonable sized package of toilet paper. We washed our fruits and vegetables most of the time. And yes, we went to the office and worked. Most of us without Zoom. Think of this, in December 2019, pre-COVID, there were about 10 million daily Zoom meeting participants. Just a few months later, at the height of the pandemic in April 2020, that number rocketed to 300 million. That all seems so long ago, but it's only been 15 months. Still, that's enough time for consumers to change their habits. Today, we eat at home or outside in bubbles. We stream movies at home or in our backyards. We travel by car or RV. We buy food for a month and lots of toilet paper. We sanitize our hands after touching anything that we can't avoid. And we work from home with Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts, GoToMeeting, and every other video conferencing software you can think of. People who were less tech savvy now debate the finer points of Zoom filters. And even though restrictions are gradually being lifted and we're eager to get outside and travel and mix with other people again, most of us will continue to spend more time at home than we did pre-pandemic. Some of this has to do with the shift towards working from home, which jumped to nearly 50% from 30%. Most experts feel that the genie is now out of the bottle, and the majority of employees, about 62%, expect their employers to allow them to continue with some version of remote work going forward. This, of course, will play a big part in reshaping our connection with our homes. But the reality is that consumers have rediscovered and re-engaged with their homes and tapped into their inner homebody. More than 50% of consumers say they are baking, cooking, and consuming food and drinks at home more frequently than they did pre-COVID. Another big behavioral shift that hit nearly all industries, including kitchen and bath, has been the rise in online shopping. Sure, consumers bought some products online, but in the first half of 2020, they bought nearly everything online. They clicked away on bidet seats and touchless faucets, self-cleaning anything, antimicrobial everything, you name it, they bought it online. Consumers spent an astounding $861 billion online in 2020, a 44% increase over 2019. That's the highest annual spike in e-commerce in over 20 years. And for the first time in history, e-commerce sales accounted for all retail sales gains. Experts had forecasted a slow and steady rise of online shopping. Instead, retailers got a tsunami, and it doesn't show signs of slowing. In Q1 of this year, nearly $1 in every 5 spent at retail came from digital orders. I read recently that it's no longer e-commerce, just call it commerce. I think consumers also learned patience because not only did the world slow down, but so did the speed of receiving merchandise, even from Amazon. This applies especially to products needed for remodels like cabinetry, flooring, and appliances. What normally took 2 to 3 weeks can now take months and cost a lot more. This stems from continuing supply chain disruptions that are a direct result of material shortages and the unexpected surge in demand for anything related to the home. Designers and K&B companies have reaped the home improvement windfall, driven by consumers' need to update spaces where they're spending more time, especially the kitchen and bath. This has also been fueled by an unprecedented surge in consumer savings owing to several factors. Chief among them are not traveling, not going out, and receiving those stimulus checks. And yes, there's still some fear of not knowing what the future holds. Which is why if we're going to hunker down in our homes again or even spend more time there, many experts predict certain design changes will be needed in key spaces like the kitchen and bath. There's no getting away from it. Consumers view their homes differently today from how they did a year ago. The expectations of their space post-pandemic are vastly different, with many, actually about 70%, looking to reshape their homes to fit their evolving lifestyles. Consider what was trending before COVID. Smaller homes, a move to downsize because we weren't home that much, little to no yard to maintain because we were too busy, minimalistic, mostly neutral decor with stylistic touches that looked really good when we dropped into our homes after a long day at work. And let's not forget the popular open concept layout. This encouraged entertaining, mingling, and separate but still connected activities for the family. But you know what we discovered? A big open room also means noise, lack of privacy, and distractions. Have you ever been on a video call at a kitchen island with kids, dogs, and even a neighbor or two stopping by? Not pretty. This open style may have been what we wanted before the pandemic, but now, for some, it's impractical. For others, there's a shift towards trying to get the best of both worlds, privacy and openness, by allowing rooms to serve multiple purposes. The open concept may not go away completely, but there's a consensus that it will be done differently in the future. Bottom line, our homes just don't seem to have kept up with our lifestyles. This is especially true of the outdoor space, which consumers now want to mirror their indoor space. The shift to outdoor living and entertaining, and the amenities that go with it. A full kitchen, comfortable seating, lighting, heating, plumbing, and cooling are among the biggest trends post-pandemic. In fact, 65% of NKBA designers involved in outdoor living areas are seeing a significant increase in volume compared to pre-COVID. Surprisingly, the changes in lifestyle seem to be driving an enduring design shift, even more than the health concerns that emerged during the pandemic. That wasn't always so. Interestingly, the advent of the powder room or guest bathroom was due to another health crisis, the 1918 flu pandemic. During this time, homeowners started installing bathrooms in the entry areas of their homes so guests could wash up without dragging themselves and their germs through the entire house. We might not be going as far as this, but the pandemic has shifted what consumers are looking for in materials, products, color, and of course, space. For example, copper, brass, and bronze, which have natural antimicrobial properties, are gaining in popularity for use in doorknobs and kitchen cabinet hardware. We're also seeing a big shift to technology upgrades that might have taken a few more years for wider adoption. Hands-free sinks and toilets, smart thermostats, automated lights, and voice-controlled smart devices that allow people to stay comfortable while at the same time minimizing what they touch. Consumers are also looking for bold designs like dark accent walls and patterned wallpaper. Bright colors are having an interiors moment too, since they can be energizing, inspiring people who are stuck in the same routine at home. Let's also not forget the move towards multi-use spaces, which are now planned in a more thoughtful, strategic way than, let's say, just setting up a desk in the laundry room, like Slack CEO Stuart Butterfield did in the early days of the pandemic when spotty Wi-Fi forced him to host an all-company video conference from the only room in his house with a decent connection. Homeowners are now shifting to more multi-purpose rooms that can be used in a variety of ways by closing off spaces to create individual areas. Instead of having virtual school, playtime, and remote work happening in the same shared kitchen or dining room, people are now looking to slide or close doors, draw a curtain, or shift furniture to give each person their own space. And everyone wants more storage. This is especially true in the kitchen, where a walk-in pantry is the new status symbol. Yes, food hoarding is now a thing, thanks to the shortages we all experienced during the pandemic. And we need space to store all the air fryers, Instapots, slow cookers, and other gadgets that we've collected to help with our new adventures in cooking. Can I just say that I never thought I'd be saying these words, food hoarding? But then again, we've all experienced a lot of firsts in the last year and a half. The question is, which ones will stick and become part of the fabric of our lives? I'm thinking the move to a home-centric lifestyle where our house becomes a hub where we work, learn, and entertain. The continued integration of more sophisticated technology and products, especially in the kitchen and bath, to make life easier and healthier. The trend toward designing our outdoor spaces like our indoor spaces, with kitchens and comfortable seating so we can enjoy our time outside year-round, no matter the region. The shift by consumers to digital everything, from buying and communicating to learning and health. I don't know about you, but all signs point to a future that is looking very robust, especially for kitchen and bath, which is an integral part of the home that's become more than just a stopgap between work and travel. It's become the center of our new universe. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I think we have time for a few questions.
Yes, Bill, we have a few questions from the audience. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, the first one. What do you think has been the biggest change agent for residential design in the last year?
You know, I think the biggest change for residential has been the shift for many consumers back to that home-centric lifestyle. It's a major shift. It's made us really rethink our homes inside and out. How will these spaces be used daily? Really fell short of our current needs, not just, I would say, as individuals, but as families and workers and students. We saw, a groundswell of demand for redesign that fit these new needs: multi-use spaces, more kitchen storage, walk-in pantries, appliances getting upgraded, and of course that the backyard that reflected more of our interiors with full kitchens and great seating in that. I think there's just been a lot in design that has shifted this last year, that potentially much of it could stay going forward.
Thanks, Bill, for that comprehensive answer. Here's another question, this one about consumers. What technology do you see the consumer sticking with post-pandemic?
Technology, I would say things that truly made life easier. Even pre-pandemic, we felt NKBA data showed that a lot of those products that were purchased or implemented were not gizmo. They were very practical. What can improve my life? And I see that being continued, maybe even stronger through what we felt through the pandemic. Tech expectations continue to rise, and more of that will expand. I would say voice activated products, touchless faucets, toilets, touchless anything, more apps to control items in our home. I would say those would be the biggest things.
And it looks like we have time, I think, for one last question. When do you think the supply chain will go back to normal? What does your research predict?
Yeah, it's a great question. Probably the top question, the top challenge for NKBA members. I would say supply chain delays we are now seeing are amongst the worst I personally have ever seen. Our data shows at NKBA that manufacturers reported severe capacity constraints last quarter due to a couple of things: raw materials, lead times on raw materials, freight delays, and of course our labor shortages. So to remedy the situation, I think a lot of the K&B manufacturers, certainly our members, have increased their US-based sourcing. Some have discontinued product lines that alleviated some constraints that were happening. I would say we expect to see some improvement in the second half of 21. although it's likely it's going to take until 2022 until these issues get worked out. That strong demand is certainly putting further pressure on that chain.
Okay, our time is up. Bill, thank you very much.
Well, thank you again to 2020 for inviting me. Thank you all of you for attending this session. I hope you found it insightful. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the social channels. Have a great rest of the conference and hope I see you all in person at KBIS 2022.
Thank you so much, Bill. That was a fantastic, insightful presentation. We can't thank you enough for joining us for 2020 Connect.
Thank you again, Amy.